Hello and welcome. Today I want to talk to you about whether or not you're betraying your faith by practicing yoga. And to begin with, I want to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Amanda Breeze. I'm a pastoral counselor, meditation researcher, and yoga therapist. And I've spent the past 20 years of my life really getting to the bottom of this question. The short version is that no, you are in no way betraying your faith by practicing yoga. Why is this? This is because yoga is essentially meditation. Now, who says this, right? Like, who am I to make this assertion? That's a pretty big claim. In these cases, I really prefer to appeal to the authority of the research. And according to Dr. David Frawley, yoga is essentially an advanced science of meditation. This is his perspective, and I would consider him one of the leading experts on yoga, what it is, what it isn't. And that is a huge part of the debate, right? It's like whether or not only is one betraying one's faith, but also whether or not one is betraying yoga. In a world that is filled with accusations of cultural appropriation, it's really important to understand what it is and what it isn't. And a lot of people want yoga to be Hinduism. That's what they really hope at the end of the day, especially in the yoga community. And there's this misconception that unless one is either Hindu by faith or born and raised in India, that therefore, if not, then one is insensitive, is uninformed, is unenlightened. And fortunately, I think Dr. David Frawley really clears that up for people by defining what yoga essentially is. And once we understand what it is, then we can understand its purpose. And its purpose is union with God specifically. Now, how could something that is one of the branches of Hinduism not be essentially Hindu? That's simple. The same way that prayer can be one of the main tools of Christianity without being unique to Christians. That these practices are spiritual practices that each of the world religions use and each of the world religions adapt. Now, they are still spiritual practices. They are interested in your relationship with the divine. That is absolutely what they're interested in. And in today's world, especially in Yoga Alliance, International Association of Yoga Therapy, there is a fascination with trying to secularize yoga into essentially a variation of physical therapy. And I think that is what the spiritual community is really asking, is how do we honor yoga and its brilliance as a spiritual tradition without reducing it, without sanitizing it? And the same with faith. How do we walk in an integrity with true faith, right? Like biblical, born again, evangelical, authority of the Bible faith. Not some new age where Jesus is just one more ascended master's spirituality, but this true embodied faith that also has this deep respect for this modality. And not only this modality, but the related cluster of other complementary therapies that are also interested in using this dunamis healing power, laying on of hands and manipulating this healing energy, this life force, this breath of life that animates all of us, or working in the book of life, the Akashic records, accessing the spiritual information in a way that somehow can still be in alignment with faith. And I think that when the Bible is clear, the Bible is very clear. We do not have the word yoga in the Bible. We do have union, specifically looking at the book of Genesis. This is a story of union. This intimacy between Adam and Eve and with God is a reflection of the love template of love, of unconditional love, that is God's will for humanity. And this state of union is what yoga is trying to get people back to, this awakening to what it means to be made in the image of God. Different world religions have different understandings of what awakening looks like. To Hindus, this awakening is awakening to the idea that one is God. To Buddhists, Buddhism is essentially atheism, awakening to this idea that there is no self, there is no God. And in Christianity, it's important to understand that with this different worldview, the short version is that grace and what Jesus did, overcoming the trauma/karma for humanity and paying this ultimate debt, is a new way of dealing with morality, because each of the world religions do. They want to deal with the issue specifically of reconciling karma, of reconciling sin, of reconciling what in the world is not reflecting this original unconditional love that was our inheritance and that was God's will for humanity in the Garden of Eden. And these spiritual practices are not just about our relationship with God, but all of our relationships are relating. What we call attachment in psychology, and really dealing with this attachment through this Western understanding of relating, of relationships, essentially of family, of spiritual family, and specifically the family in the Garden of Eden, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. But also our relationships in our human experience, in this embodied way of showing up in relationship, in attachment, and using these meditative interventions, the neurofeedback being sort of an acceleration of meditation, doing it in less time. But getting to this place of union is absolutely available to all the world religions. It's an interfaith practice, and yet at the same time, it absolutely must be adapted to each person's personal religious expression. And religious expression is the thing that we have lost in today's world that I really think is most important that we get to the bottom of. So if you're interested in learning more about this, I want to encourage you to join me. Feel free to check out my link, yogaofrelationship.co. And I have a Christian spirituality guide that goes over the 80 Bible verses that I have found dealing with new moons, essential oils, incense, spirituality, laying on of hands, faith healing. And I want to encourage you to check that out. To learn more about this conversation, and hit subscribe. And I'd love to hear more from you in the comments about what your thoughts are about whether or not Christians can do yoga and whether or not it betrays one's faith.